After winning the amazing race, Kim and I realized that we could win at anything as long as we work together. Now, we want to unlock that win at anything potential in you.
Chip and I are so inspired by promoting happy, healthy, and thriving relationships.
Oh, you can't be sounding all coquettish, girl. You know how you expect me to concentrate on anything, but you know what?
You're so cute.
Welcome to this episode of My Queen and I. Welcome to My Queen and I, where I'm here with, actually, 3 queens. This is like episode 10. This is a follow-up to one of our most popular episodes. I mean, Kim, we have been getting so many comments over the last week hearing about...
Yes.
Oh, my God. So it's just great that I just want to thank Leah and Aaron for being able to come back again this week. And we're just so excited. But last week, we learned so much about online dating, the tips and the tricks, and pretty much the experience of online dating, especially for me, a dinosaur.
And me also a dinosaur, because we knew nothing about it. But so many women are out there, so many men, that's the only way that you date now, is from what we're understanding. So we got a lot of good tips and tricks.
Right, but this week is on a whole nother level, because this week it is not so much going to be informational, even though you're going to gain a myriad of different bits of information. This one is mainly on the horror stories and also on catfishing, actually catfish episodes that both of these young ladies have experienced. So without further ado, I'm going to do just like I did last week, Kim. I'm going to let you get a word in edgewise. So baby, you start.
So sweet. Well, I guess we really need to jump right into it, because for one, I don't really know what catfishing means. I've heard about it, and I know that there are a lot of people out there who have heard about it but don't know what it means. If one of you guys could explain or just give us that definition of that.
Okay, so catfish became at the forefront a couple years ago when a guy named Neve met his woman and started doing a show on MTV. That's when the term catfish came out. And what it means is basically someone who is out there portraying themselves to be someone else to many women and never shows their face. They're completely fake. Sometimes it could be a woman who is scorned and you're dating her ex-boyfriend. It could be a woman pursuing you. It could be a childhood friend that you know, someone who's just been trying to get a hold of you and is attracted to you but never shows their face. They're completely a phony person.
Okay, since my head is blown off and placed in another room, so what? Okay, simple question. What's the purpose?
So sometimes there's people on the show Catfish that are unattractive. They feel like they can be someone else and portray themselves to be someone else. So it's good to take a picture off of someone's profile and pretend to be a celebrity. You could be Chris Brown's brother. You could be anybody that you want to be. So let's, online social media is oftentimes false, right? It's what people want you to perceive them as. It's not necessarily the truth. And so people who catfish tend to be people that are not in a good place, that get a thrill off of preying on other people.
Because I can't even imagine that, because what you are telling us today here is that they never have any intention on meeting you.
No, it's like
so what is the thrill in that? What's the fun about doing that?
Companionship, talking to someone, a pen pal. Some people can start to ask for money. It's just keeping people company. There could be a slew of reasons as to why they think that it's okay, or they start creating a profile to portray to be someone else. A lot of them don't even have relationships, and so this is a way for them to meet a woman, even though they have no intention of actually showing their face.
Well, like you did say, Aaron, it could be a scorned lover, somebody putting some. But Kim, remember, we had a quote unquote catfish experience in real estate. where when we first got into real estate, we had this prospective client that came up to us, knew we were new, and for 3 months he strung us along, acting as if he had millions of dollars. And we were showing him these mansions, and we were gonna be rich, boy. Remember that?
Our first house too.
Come to find out that this guy he has been stringing new agents along for years, and he's still doing it to this day, 8 years later. I'm going to say his name is Ricardo Leonardo. So if any of you realtors know, but he gets this big, he gets to be this big shot, and then he, when he gets his legs chopped off,
It's often very insecure people that do it. And it's just a way for them to feel like someone wants them or they feel needed. It's really, really not. It's unfortunate they prey on innocent people. And this show on MTV has exposed them. So now that the show's come out, people are doing it so that they can possibly get on the show.
Leah, have you had experience with catfishing, Leah?
Well, yeah, it's so the one experience that I've had, and I don't know, this catfish, it probably backfired on him. But, this guy sends me flowers every day. I had to shut him off. And when I say sends me, I had him send it to my job because, we talked for a while. Seemed like a nice guy. Profile was great. Really good. Looked good. He was a little younger. And see, that was my first red flag. I went up and everybody saw my go younger. So he was a couple of years younger. And so, he says, well, I want to send you something. So the first day, he sends me 24 dozen roses. 2 days later, he sends me this exotic flower group. And then every couple of days, he was sending me flowers. Then one day he said, I want to send you something. I'm going to send it out there. Please make sure you're at your office to get it. So what does he do? I get a Tiffany box. And I'm like, what? Wow. A Tiffany box? And he sends me rose gold earrings.
What?
And so I'm thinking to yes.
I don't have nothing like that.
But Leah, did you find out if he has a sister?
And the thing is, and so, I kept saying, okay, well, let's do a FaceTime. And, I'm not usually a FaceTime girl, but I said, let's do a FaceTime. And he was offended that I asked him to do a FaceTime. And I was like, and then every time we had a conversation about when we were going to get together, then, he's flying out of the country and all this kind
combative with excuses.
You know what? You're not real. I'm not feeling you. So this is not going to go anywhere. Plus I was tired of getting all those roses. Managing roses is a job.
Well, let me manage them roses for you.
I had to finally say, don't send me any more flowers because it was too much work carrying them home from work. And again, not that I didn't appreciate the flowers and they were really expensive, but I kept thinking to myself, why would you spend all this money? You don't know me. You never met me. You don't really, I don't think you have any intention of meeting me. And then he keeps sending me pictures.
But Leah, what kinds of things does he say to you? Does he tell you how he feels about you? What does he say?
Yes, and that's the reason why I said, okay, this is out of control. Talking about he loved me. You never met me, you never seen me, you don't even know if we have a true chemistry. So he's basically taken his brain and fantasized about who I am, what I am, and he's created this person that I'm sure is not me.
But wait, I do have to ask this. Weren't you supposed to meet at least once or twice, and then he comes up with these stories?
Well, he kept saying that he was going to fly into Chicago because, see, my rule of thumb, I don't fly anywhere to meet anybody. If somebody wants to meet me, they have to fly to my city on their dime because I'm not going, I'm just not going to do it. If I just happen to be working in another state or something, no problem, I'll meet them. But for the most part, they have to meet. And so then there was always an excuse why he couldn't come. It was never last minute or anything like that. He would always, let me know far enough in advance. So it wasn't a big deal. There was no loss to me, but I just finally said, okay, enough. This something's not right about this.
Now, so what are the types of excuses that he gives you when you try to FaceTime him or Zoom or Skype or whatever? Because from my understanding, what I remember you said, you guys have never even done that.
No, it was, the excuse is, so his phone, he's an international brother. So whatever that means, he has some Sony phone, and I got an Apple iPhone, and we couldn't, FaceTime. I said, well, let's do WhatsApp.
Yeah.
International. Let's do WhatsApp.
True.
Oh, I don't have that app. I'm like,
download it, fool.
You younger than me, and you don't have WhatsApp. That's when I was like, done. So, it's just, he still texts me every single day. Hello, how are you doing? What are you doing? And I'm texting back, hey, I'm busy, bye. And every single day he texts. And every single day he'll send me a picture of the work, supposedly, that he's doing over in Europe. And I'm like, okay, this could be any random picture from anywhere.
Okay, Leah, here's a heat check. Here's a heat check for you. If this guy did happen to say he was coming to Chicago, and you would be, of course, apprehensive, but he did show up and he was the picture that you've seen of him, if he was real, would you be still open? Yeah.
Hey, look, no harm, no foul going to Starbucks because that's only 10 minutes of my life.
There you go.
Yeah, I wouldn't meet him.
Yeah.
In a public place, at Starbucks. It would definitely be a Starbucks meet. He would not get to have, the Firehouse restaurant meet. He gets the Starbucks meet.
Well, I'm just out. He's spending all that money. I take him to wherever, No.
Yeah, mine was not like that at all.
Oh. Right? Yeah. So what was yours, Aaron?
So this was
Catfish.
like when I first started dating. So this is like before FaceTime and all this kind of stuff. And so they tell you everything you want to hear. And I remember this person went to such great lengths that when they were going to come and see me, they got in a car accident, and then an aunt got on the phone, and so then they're just kind of pulling on your sympathy card. It's just an emotional disaster. Because every time you want to see them, you're getting excited and it's a letdown. And so I talked to this person for probably a year. Wow. I was prepared to think I would marry this person because he was telling me everything I wanted to hear. He was the friend. It was when I first moved back to California. So, a lot of my friends weren't here. So I remember one of my friends and I, we actually went to his state. And I didn't tell him, but I made sure he was in town. So he landed, I called and I said, hey, I'm in town, let's try to get together for dinner. He was like, absolutely. Oh, you're in town? Shocked. My friend said, don't give him an out. So we wanted to go to, I forget the name of the restaurant, but that night he's like, okay, I'm on my way, I'm going to come. And then he ends up saying that his nephew that he's helped raising has gone missing. So he never shows up. And then he's like, okay, I'm going to meet you at the airport. He never does. And that's when I first realized that now you have to do a lot more research because people can prey on you for a very long time. And that's why it's important to date people locally to me is one thing. But it's important to talk to them over the phone. And then to FaceTime them now. At that point, it wasn't really FaceTime. And if we did Skype, it was always an excuse.
Wow.
It was, my Skype's not working. Or if they did Skype, it would show up as a black thing. And he's like, I have to get technical difficulties or something like that. It was always an excuse. And so if someone's constantly making excuses as to why they can't show you their face, that's a red flag. If they ask for money. That's a red
No, that ain't a red flag. That's a pink flag.
No,
with the-
not particularly this guy, but if they ask for money, because
Ask for
it's
money.
yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a definite no. And I agree with you 100%. It's really key. In online dating, you have to meet the person very, very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah, within
because
2 weeks
you don't
max.
want any emotions attached to anything until you meet them. Because all it takes is one meet within 5 minutes of that meet to determine whether or not there will be any connection. And people always talk about, don't worry about a connection. No, that's not true. They always say men are visual. Look, women are visual too. I need to be able to see somebody to see if in fact I'm going to be attracted to them, because the reality is, people say it's overrated, but it's not.
Yeah.
When you're looking at someone, if you don't feel a connection, you don't feel like you can like them, game over.
Yeah. And the thing about people who are catfish, you're not the only one they're doing it to. So these people have poems, tell you everything you want to hear.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah. Sometimes these people could be married. There's been people that are bisexual or lesbians that, pose as these handsome men, and it's a woman you end up seeing. Like, it's just, it can go to such great lengths, and these people get a thrill off of really trying to pursue you in a way.
Well, the guy that catfished you, did he finally admit it, apologize, tell you why he did it?
3 years later, he called and gave me some sort of story, and I think I hung up in his face, because it was just like, dude, you're not who you say you are. Your aunt he created a Facebook profile for his aunt. There was a woman I was speaking to. Like, he put a doctor on the phone. Complete catfish.
Well, Aaron, I know you mentioned earlier that feelings are attached to that.
Yeah.
And I can attest to it. When I was 15 years old, right before I got my driver's license, I was in love with this girl, and I had my friend Michael had hooked me up with her, and we were talking on the phone, and I knew that was the woman of my dreams. And then when I finally got to see, a picture of her, and that she was like a Gila monster, the love just went out, and then I never met. But no, I'm so stupid. I admit I'm stupid. But what I mean is, I really did love this girl. So your feelings were attached to...
Absolutely. They're telling me everything I want to hear. There's a male voice behind it. There's someone you're confiding in. They're confiding in you. Wow. It is so easy, especially when all your friends are getting married, right? And having kids. Women, we want to be in a relationship. And so we tend to make excuses for some of these men, because it's like, maybe he really did get in an accident, When in reality, that's why it's so important to do the friend or sister fact check, because you got to get out of your head. But they are so persistent. They will send you flowers. They will send you gifts. They will make you feel like you are the only person in their life. Wow. And all their time is spent on a computer being fake.
So,
for some sort of pleasure.
You never, ever got to meet him or even see who it was behind the computer screen.
No. And then I even have a worse catfish story. Someone I know.
Wait, okay. We're going worse than that. Let's go.
I've known somebody since I was 12 years old. He's always been kind of infatuated with me, but he was engaged, had a baby on the way. He was my guy best friend. So he knew when I was going out on a date with someone, if I had a client at a Laker game, and he knew my type. He pretended to be 4 different men on profiles. He had there are apps where you can change your voices. So you can time phone calls. So I could be with him and a phone call come and be a voicemail, and it's him. And so he went to such great lengths to really try to steer me close to falling in love with him through someone else. It was bad. Like a restraining order almost had to get issued. It was bad.
I can't even fathom.
He knew my family, my grandfather. He was Lucifer disguised, because I've known him. I can fight him. I helped plan his baby shower. And this man, and even if I went out with someone in person, right? He would know, I'm going out with this guy. So then he would message me on an email like, I saw you went out with my man. I know you stay at this address. And so then here I am calling the police to report a woman who I think's harassing me, when all in fact, it was this friend. And how I ended up finding out is I had a private investigator trace all of the emails to the same IP address. And that's how I found out it was him.
Wow.
He had taken pictures and was following me. So it's like, it's so important to see people. It's so important to see their face within 2 weeks. And you go with your intuition. But people get a thrill off of this pretending to be someone else.
Oh, I mean, that's
all he had to do
scary.
was ask me out before, you know. I mean, he knew I wasn't going to get with him, you know, but it's just, it was crazy. Fatal attraction.
Wow. That is...
Wow.
Leah,
That's
so...
My
scary.
experiences seem like...
Right. Right.
I always try to look at the positive in every single relationship or every experience. Because guys always say to me, well, Leah, you haven't had any bad experiences. You haven't had any guys that didn't look like that picture. No, not really. Everybody.
She's lucked up.
Now, they may have been, they say they were 290. They may have been 300, or like the height issue.
Oh, yeah.
That's that. Talk of that.
There's a lot of height issues.
Exactly. Men perceive themselves to be taller than they are.
Yes.
So if a brother says that he's 6'2", best believe he's probably 5'11".
But Leah, what is
That's
Leah?
true.
What is like? What is the perfect height?
Well, for me,
Uh-huh.
I like men 6 feet and above because I wear heel shoes. I'm 5'6.5". I wear 3 and 4 inch heels, so that puts me at 5'10". So a brother needs to be taller because I need to be able to look up to him
Mm-hmm.
as well as feel safe.
Right.
That's just my own personal thing.
Right.
Anybody, that's just my thing.
I say my height or
What?
taller.
Oh,
you know,
so
my
what would you
height.
say, Aaron?
My height or taller, but I mean, maybe even if a little shorter, if it's the character of the guy, I would probably consider it, but
What's your height?
5'5".
5'5". Okay.
Yeah, so maybe a few shorter, just because I feel like I have friends who have married nice men that were a little shorter, and,
Right.
and just because of your height. But I mean, I would prefer them be my height or
Right.
taller. I can stoop down a little, but I don't want to be like this.
Right.
Right.
Now, Leah, do you have any horror dating stories? Any interracial ones that might have happened, or?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror, but it was a funny story. So I finally was able to say, okay, Leah, let's go ahead and cross the color line. That's what I call it, cross the color line. Because naturally, I'm not attracted to anyone outside of African American Black men. That's just my normal attraction. So I finally said, okay, let me go ahead and check out the other. And so I went on a couple of dates. So the first one, I met the guy at Starbucks. Good conversation. Everything is fine. Then he says, well, let's go to a jazz function. So he takes me to a jazz function. And of course, there's other Black men there. And so I'm with this Caucasian man. And so I remember I was walking to the bathroom. I had to excuse myself to go to the bathroom. And there were 3 brothers sitting along the bar. And as I walked by them, they look at me and they said, wow, sister, why you got to be with him? I stopped in my tracks and I said, well, brother, did you ask me out?
Oh,
good for you.
And then we all laughed, because, they knew what I was saying was true. So then I just turned around and went on to the bathroom.
right.
The same thing happened on another one similar. We were at dinner and it just so happens there was like a family of 10 Black folks that were sitting at the table next to us. And so then you get all these eyes and all these people staring and you know what they're saying. Now, why is she with him? All the brothers were saying, why is she with him? And of course the girls are like, go girl, you got it. But, it's the sense of, I'm just not comfortable, dating outside of my race. But that's just my personal preference. I like what I like, and dating outside my race just hasn't worked for me yet. Now, maybe God will tell me one day that that's what it's meant to be, but he hadn't shown up yet. This guy hasn't shown up yet. So.
Right.
I'm open.
Oh.
I'm open to dating outside of my race. I prefer, black men, but I've dated Caucasian men and Asian American. But the one that I went out with, Asian American, was like super into CrossFit. So all he talked about was CrossFit. And after the day, he kept sending me CrossFit videos. And I'm like, I'm not interested, dude. Like, Then he had claimed he had a house, and then come to find out he has 9 roommates. I'm like, don't stretch the truth. Don't stretch the truth. Just be honest. I've been out with a guy who said he was 35, he was 45. And the reason I found out is he split his driver's license when he ordered a drink. And I'm like, dude, if you're lying about the small things, what else are you lying about? You don't have to even lie about your age in the beginning. You can be completely honest. Don't take away my choice. And I think that happens,
And, well, so what are some other dates that you went on and they just went off the rails?
Okay, so in the beginning, I think it's important that you look at photos, right? So this one guy had all these pictures of his mouth closed, all pictures of his mouth closed. I think we might have had one phone call to make plans. It was very short, right? So we go to Olive Garden in the snow. And, I'm snowing in Minnesota. And so as soon as I get there, he kind of smiles and I'm like... It's like, oh my God, right?
Oh, shoot.
But I don't want to be rude or whatever. So then he's like, I'm going to go to the restroom. And I'm like, okay. So he goes to the restroom. The waiter comes up and she's like, look underneath your mat, right? So look under the menu mat and there's a letter talking about, can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you. Thank you for this dinner. And I'm like, whoa.
Ew.
What in the heck? So then he comes back and then he starts talking. So she comes take her, I'll take the spaghetti. He was stuttering so much. And I hadn't caught that on the phone. And he was spitting. I was like, he'll take the spaghetti. Okay. And then he's like, let's stay for dessert. I'm like,
oh, God.
That's why I don't do dinners anymore. Because see, when you're at dinners and you want to be polite, you have to sit through the dinners. That's why coffee's better. But he was like, and I had not caught that because it was a quick phone call. So he must not have been nervous. But even the waitress is looking like. So listen, talking over the phone to hear how they pronounce things is very important, as well as seeing how they write their grammar. And then I like nice smile, nice teeth. You want pictures where they have their mouth open. The red flags, if people have their mouth closed, no, on all the pictures and me mugging, something's up. Something's up. That's all I'm saying.
Leah, have you had any experience with any kind of mouth disorders, Leah?
Well, actually, you guys will hear me say this often, is about being strategic. That's number one, and that's why I like profiles and pictures. If someone doesn't have pictures on their profile, if they just have one picture up, I won't even
swipe left.
Check yes. I won't even do that. Because it's really key, like you said, they have to be smiling on their picture. Because see, my thing is, if you're not smiling, we aren't going to be compatible anyway, because I'm naturally a smiling and happy person. So I want your character should be somewhere along that frame. So definitely the smile thing is definitely off.
No, Leah, that wasn't. I wasn't leading you into the smile. I was talking about other mouth disorders.
Your horror dating story.
Yeah. Then what they're referring to is, unfortunately, one date I went on, it was fabulous. It could have been a very, very nice date. However, when we got to the event and we sat down and, we were sitting next to each other watching, a show going forward, I could smell his breath across my face. Oof. And he wasn't even talking. He was just sitting next to me.
He had his mouth closed?
He had his mouth closed, and then when he opened up his mouth, oh my God.
I know. And we're just nice when we just kind of
and so what do you do? You're at a 3-hour, 2.5, 3-hour show intermission, and it was brutal, to say the least. But like I said, the show and dinner were fantastic as long as I wasn't in breath's range.
Breath's range.
I've offered gum a couple times,
Leah, did you offer gum?
You know what? All I had was mint, and he didn't want to take the mint.
No! I know. Isn't that terrible when they have breath and they don't want to take the mint?
Wait, I'm going to tell you guys right now. if you offer a brother a mint in the middle of the day and they don't take it, you should just walk out right there. And that means he ain't got no damn sense.
I know, right?
You offer if anybody ever offer me a mint, I'm like, I look at him and say, yeah, man. I was like, shit, give me two.
That's awful. That's awful. And
Yeah.
now, Aaron, did you mention that you had a situation too where it turned out to be a wig and then it was a bald man underneath?
I've been hit on by lesbians all the time, and they tend to be pretty aggressive. They really tend to think that they can change
Your perspective.
your perspective, right? So, good-looking guy, I thought it was like this good-looking guy. We go out on a date, and they're sitting at the bar, and nobody says anything, right? Because she looks like a woman. I see boobs. So I kind of go to the door, and I'm calling the number, and I see it vibrate. And I look, and then she says, I'm sorry, I just really, really like you. I thought you'd probably accept me as how I am. Can we still just have a date? And I'm like, no, not at all. Absolutely not. I said, you should not be pretending to be someone. My profile says heterosexual. Heterosexual. Please don't do that.
Right.
I said, you should be very careful because you could do this to the wrong person and something could happen bad. I said, that is not okay.
Right. Nothing's wrong with it for two consenting adults, but don't try to force it on somebody.
She's like, I just figured once you met me, you may find me attractive, but we can kind of make this work. And I'm like, you thought wrong. I was like, God bless you. And I walked out.
And that's why I have in my profile, one of the first things is, I believe in honesty.
Yes.
And I require, as I do for myself, that the man that I'm going to be with to be honest, because the bottom line is, as long as we're both honest to one another, you can't ask for anything better because everybody has the data and you got to make a decision if you're going to deal with the data or not. So that's the first and foremost. I also put in my profile that I want somebody that's mentally stable. I write that in my profile. I want somebody that, is passionate about things, that has someone that has a love for family, because all of those things are so important in the character of the person that would be a good match for me.
So have you found, though, and I want to bring this up because it is a question out there, that a certain type, and when I say men who have experienced the military, they kind of come off a different way, would you say?
Lord have mercy.
I know. What you got?
Now, I'm just saying, I don't go that route. If I see somebody that's been in the military, now this is just me. It's very difficult for us to be together because I'm very aggressive and, forward. They're aggressive and forward. So pretty much we probably will bump heads. But it just doesn't work for me. Now, I tried. I think I went on 3 dates with military, either currently in the military, second and third, they've been around for a long time, or second and third careers, or those retired.
Well, Leah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm kind of interrupting here, but trying not to. This show, young ladies, is not the last show. We want the horror stories and the fun. Y'all is giving advice. Y'all giving it.
I got a horror story. You got a horror story. I got a horror story.
Oh, okay.
The fact that, and I guess, it was so funny because when I went on dates with them, it was back to back. And what I noticed was each of them, as we were having conversations, they would either go to their children who are cutters or something really vicious and very negative, or that they were, very dictator style. And I'm thinking to myself, that's a little much for me because it won't work with me because, I'm who I am. But then, my gut didn't feel good because I saw a very rigid type anal character coming out just over the dinner table. And I was like, well, if I'm feeling this over at the dinner table, you can imagine after you've been with a person for a while.
Right, right.
I'm trying to be nice, Chip.
Well, the story ain't that interesting. I'm gonna tell you that right now. I mean, you being so damn politically correct, you might. All right, Aaron, show Leah how to give the dirt.
So I dated a person in the military. I tend to find out that they're not very truthful with their names. For some reason, they tend to have a different first name and last name because they kind of want to be more private. They often also do not put that they're in the military, so you don't find out until later. Wow. But this particular guy, we went on a date. I was so excited. And we were going on a second date, and I learned he wore a man weave. So another thing about people online is there's a lot of insecurities. You feel me? So like women are maybe insecure about their size, but men about their hair. I've gone out with 4 guys where their hairline was way back. It's like, just go bald, dude. But this guy looked like he was young. When we went out on a date, he looked like he was my age, really fresh. And the next time I saw him, he looked like grumpier old men. I was like night and day. I'm like, dude, just say you have a man weave up front. I can't expect you to look this.
Wow. Wait, I want you all to notice. Erin did not say grumpy old men. She said grumpier. So she went to the next level of the grumpy.
So he was
Yeah, and there was just a lot of like false information. You know what I mean with him, and I just thought that was weird. And then, I think that he was very like anal retentive about certain things, and I thought that was kind of weird. Unable to relax. I can't say that's across the scale, but my experience is that they tend to have different first names or last names. They tend to be very anal retentive and very kind of they try to be more dominant.
Yeah,
and I can't say that across the board, right?
Right, but just
but don't lie. I mean, just be honest. I mean, if you want to ask if I have a weave, I'll tell you. But don't come with no man weave and then expect like on our third date me to still be attracted to you. You looking like grumpier old man.
Right.
I'm just saying. Right. You look like a whole different person, Ani. I'm telling you. I'm like, dang, I just got the luck.
Right.
I can't even imagine.
Now, Leah, you I have seen when you turned in your interview questions, I have seen some hilarious stories come from you. And as a matter of fact, I even made reference that I think you should write a book. But how about like some of those, those onesies or twosies that you've had that have me actually dying crying?
The thing is, of course, I always like to be politically correct, but you never know who will be watching video, and they will be able to identify themselves through the story, and we don't want that to happen.
Oh, okay. Well, that is true. That is. Wait, because so you felt safe with Breathy that he.
Oh, absolutely. Because you know what? He's actually a great guy, and we've talked and gone to other concert venues out to Ravinia. We've done quite a few.
You guys just sat in different sections.
You practice social distancing, right?
It's social distancing way back then. But you just set at different angles. Just make sure you're on the upwind instead of the downwind. But the thing is, as I said, I think in the other show, when you go out, you're not looking for that person to be the be-all, end-all. But what ends up happening along the way, you end up developing friendships and relationships. And, as you get older, it's all about people that you connect with, people that you have experiences with. Not that you may not, end up dating them because they may be good for somebody else, but not necessarily for me.
Right.
Probably because I'm picky, and but I got a right to be picky.
Yeah,
you do.
That's right, because you deserve the best. Erin, you have a story because you've dated. And you have been dating for online dating for several years. Mm-hmm. You had a coincidence kind of story pop up. Tell me a little bit about that.
I was on Tinder. This is on Tinder, and I'd met two different guys that were in town for the weekend for a wedding. And so the wedding happened to both be on Sunday. So we made arrangements. This is the first time I decided to date two different people on the same day, like a lunch and a dinner. Okay. So one said he was the bride's brother, and the other one was the groom's brother. So I drive to go meet him for lunch, and I pick him up, and as I'm walking out, I freaking see the guy I'm supposed to go out with next. He said he was going to be in Long Beach and there for the same freaking wedding. What are the odds in Southern California with all the swipes that I would be with the same two guys at the same wedding in the same weekend? So, of course, I had to be honest, right? I'm a short shooter, so I said, I was like, when we walked out, I had my sunglasses on. I was hoping he didn't know who it was. And I was like, oh, you're here for this wedding too? And he was like, uh-huh. I was like, crap. So when we're walking to go get lunch, and I'm like, I just got to tell you, I had a date scheduled with your brother-in-law, brother-in-law for dinner, and he was just like, oh, it's okay. You're going to be, so then he purposely kept me out all night. And I think I told the guy I was going to a Chris Brown concert because I tried to use excuse you guys, I think that same night. And what are the odds? And then that guy really liked me. I would have rather gone on with the guy that I passed up.
Wow.
But it was just what are the odds? But I just had to be honest, because I didn't want it to go back and be a duke it out over the girl.
Right.
But that was awkward.
Yeah. And, I've actually, especially when I used to travel for work and I'd be out of town, and I'd set up dates while I was in different states, because when the pool of, I call them, the pool of fish was dry in the city that I lived in, because I traveled a lot, I would just go on dates with guys in other cities. And it was great because, you could do breakfast, lunch, and dinner. All in, if you're only going to be in town for a couple of days, you're able to meet the people in a very quick order, because that's really the thing. Like I said before, you want to make sure that you're, if you're talking to people on the internet and then you're talking to them on the phone, you want to very quickly meet them to see if there is any potential for any type of friendship or relationship, whatever it's going to be. But you can't just keep dragging these these meets on forever. One, because you don't want to get emotionally attached to anybody until you meet them face to face. Yeah. And so you just don't want to, and then it's sucking up your life. It's sucking up good hours of your life that you don't get to get back.
Well, just so that our audience knows, okay, think about it, Leah Don. How many people would you say, or how many dates have you gone on over the year? And then, Aaron, the same question to you. Do you even have a number?
Okay. I first started dating in 2006, internet dating in 2006. And when I first started, I used to keep a folder. I would print off and put the person's profile in a folder so then I could keep the story straight. Yeah. Because you're talking to so many different people, you got to keep the story straight. I mean, their story. So I don't want to be talking with one man about his story and it turns out to be someone else. So I used to do that. So I would say probably over the course from 2006 to 2020, I would say, gosh, it has to be, I'd say maybe 85, 90, could be 100. But, it really could be, because when I say dates, I'm talking about those are your Starbucks meets, the coffee meets. And there have been a lot, of those, which, like I always say, I've been on dates in Starbucks that last 10 minutes and some that last, 5 hours.
Wow.
But it's really, you can be in Starbucks and talk for that length of time. But see, for me, I've never been all the way consistent. Like, I remember I looked on my Match.com. I signed up maybe in 2006. But there was a gap. I didn't get back on again till 2009. And then, maybe that's your 2011, it's about your cycles in life. Because if I'm dating somebody and dated that person for a year or 2 years, you have a gap, and then you kind of go back on when you're in that lull, when you have the time. And I find that usually it's around the right after the holidays, before the Valentine's Day, the whole New Year thing. You're saying, okay, I'm going to change my life. These are the things I'm going to change in my life this year. So, it goes up and down.
Wow. Thank you, Leah. So what about you, Aaron? How long have you been online dating, and how many prospects have you entertained?
I probably started online dating in 2007 because I was in Minnesota. I didn't really know anybody. So that was a way of kind of like meeting new people. Up until like currently I'm still online, or like beginning of this year. I've probably been on like 55 to 60 dates. And 10 of those or 12 of those came from that. It's just lunch.
So those are the higher quality ones. It's just lunch.
Yes. But then the other ones would be encounters. And I started off doing dinner dates, and I realized I don't want to sit through a whole dinner if I don't like a person. So the best advice I could say is a coffee, a Jamba Juice, or a drink. Something that is very like quick to the point where you can, because within the first 10 to 15 minutes, you can tell whether or not someone's worth your time. But the cool thing about the matchmaking site is they got feedback from each of your dates. So most of the guys would always want to go on second dates, but they kind of said, I was like HR. I asked a lot of questions. I probe, because eventually I'm going to catch you in either a lie, or I'm going to see how honest and vulnerable you are. And so I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, because dating is like an interview, but I just think that, it's probably been like 55 to 60 dates.
Wow.
So see that what you just talked about those questions, having bam, bam, bam questions. If a brother comes to me like that, I'm done. Because see, first of all, I'm trying to find out, if we have a connection on something. So by giving him standard questions, the type of questions I'm asking him are things that I saw in his profile that I relate to. Like if he was in a fraternity, I was in a sorority, where he lived, all the different places, what he's passionate about, his children, things like that. So I'm not going to be asking him, like you say, HR questions. And I kind of find it a little, because I'm really just trying to get to know the person and see if we can kind of mesh together. Because I've been in this rodeo and been to this rodeo many, many times. Yeah. So, for me, that just works better. And I know guys have said to me, they're like, wow, Leah, do you have any questions for me? I said, I'm getting all the answers just from our conversation, because I'm listening. I'm a listener, and I listen to the things that they say. And like you say, just how you're asking questions to catch them in lies, I'm asking questions to see if they're telling a different story every time.
And let me just clarify, the comment about the HR was from what a slew of like a culmination of all of the feedback they had got from the 10 dates, right? And it wasn't a bad thing. It was just that I asked more questions compared to some of the other women in the search firm. But I definitely think my questions are like, do you believe in God? Do you want to have children? It's very conversational, but I do think it's important to ask questions to really understand a person, because someone can tell you something, but it's so important to seek to understand. Yeah. Especially even asking about their past relationships, because some people tend to be jaded, and then you have to, the most important thing about online dating is patience. You have to be so patient, because you're not going to be able to see them as often. They may not call you the way that you want to call them. They may message you one day and a couple days later. Patience is so important.
Okay, Aaron, I'm going to hit you. Since you came up with that great thing about patience is so important, I'm going to hit you with something you're going to say, dang. So listen to this question.
Okay.
Are you going to find your soulmate / husband online?
Yes. I think I actually recently found someone that's really, really special and unique. But I do think so, because I'm in sales. I'm on the road a lot. It's hard for me to meet anyone at all. And so online dating allows me to pick a certain mile that I want to, in my geographic area, that I want to kind of seek a man out. And it's easier and convenient for me.
I love it.
So, Leah,
I believe so.
same question.
Yeah, I absolutely think that I will probably, unless some of my family members introduce me to somebody,
Yeah, you're married.
unless it's a referral date, pretty much 100%, I will probably find that person online because that's really, outside of, because the things that I do personally outside of work, business, not going to be anybody there.
Yeah.
Things I do personally, volunteering and things like that, don't necessarily always, find people that have the same passion. So, I tend to think that probably will be the end, the way that I end up meeting the person that I'm going to ultimately be with.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't have said necessarily so because there was still a lot of networking opportunities, different MBA associations where you can meet people, but that's kind of slowed down as people are working more. And so I would say nowadays, this is probably the best way to go, but you have to be very strategic, very patient, very aware of what it is you want. It's so important to know your deal breakers. And your non-negotiables, because there's no point in entertaining anybody, for me at this point, that doesn't want to have children.
Wow.
No one who doesn't want to be married, someone who doesn't believe in God. We're not equally yoked. It is so important to really, before you even get online, to write down your negotiables, your non-negotiables, and write down what it is you want in a man and in a partner. Because the first thing I ask is, what are you looking for? Because you want someone who's intentionally dating like you, dating with the intention of meeting someone to hopefully turn into a relationship, to a fiance, to marriage. You're not looking for someone who just got out of a divorce and is just kind of hanging just to hang, you know, or someone who's, you want someone who is on the same wavelength as you. You want someone who you can inspire and they can inspire you back. It needs to be someone who you connect with on a emotional, spiritual, and physical aspect. And you have to see them FaceTime, in person, and how they talk over the phone is so important.
I love that.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree 100%, Aaron, with that, because it's all three. It's those three things. You have to have, like you say, the emotional, the spiritual connection, the physical connection. People always say, no, physical is overrated, but it's not overrated. You do have to be attracted to that person if you plan on being with them 24/7.
Amen.
Well, I'm going to tell you all.
Hot in here.
You're right. So take off all your clothes. No. This is so amazing for Kim and me to be exposed to this, because actually this is the first time, I've over these last 2 episodes that I've learned all of this, because we've never really taken the time to delve so deeply into it. So we want to thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Leah, so much for your time. And everyone out there who's listening, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to, comment or contact Kim and me. And if you can't find a way to contact Chip and Kim, then we aren't doing our job the way you better be able to find out how to contact us. So I'm not even going to give you away. But what I'd like to say right now is, again, thank these wonderful guests so much. We'd like to just give information to our listeners, and I would be quite remiss if I didn't say that you beautiful, fine, young, tender thing sitting across the table from me, you are the light of my life, and I love you so much, and thank you for going on this journey with me.
I love you too.
Thank you. And I want to tell you out there, if you consider your wife / girlfriend / lover your queen, you both will experience a little slice of heaven right here on earth. Thank you so much. We love you, and we'll see you next episode.